Donald Trump has delivered a blunt message to Venezuela's newly installed interim leader, warning that failure to do the right thing would bring severe consequences, potentially harsher than those faced by her predecessor. The warning follows a dramatic overnight operation in which Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife were detained by U.S. Special Forces in Caracas. They were flown to New York ahead of a scheduled court appearance on charges related to narco-terrorism and large-scale drug trafficking, allegations Maduro has repeatedly dismissed as politically motivated. Venezuela's Supreme Court has since sworn in Vice President Delcy Rodríguez as interim president. In her first remarks, she condemned U.S. actions, demanded Maduro's release, and insisted the country would resist foreign pressure. In Washington, the Trump administration portrayed the arrest as a decisive blow against organized crime. Footage released by U.S. authorities showed Maduro restrained and escorted by federal agents, a symbolic moment the White House described as the fall of a criminal enterprise masquerading as a government. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a longtime critic of Venezuela's leadership, said the U.S. would not tolerate a state that enables drug trafficking or collaborates with hostile powers. He argued that Venezuela must dismantle criminal networks and open its energy sector to American companies. The operation is being described as the most contentious U.S. military action in Latin America in decades. President Trump claims Rodríguez has privately agreed to cooperate but followed that assertion with a renewed threat, warning she could face even greater consequences if she refuses. A U.S. naval force is now positioned off Venezuela's coastline following months of military preparation. The administration says the deployment enforces an effective oil blockade and that further action remains an option. At home, opposition to the intervention has been building in Congress. Democratic lawmakers have labeled the operation unlawful and are pushing for a vote to restrict additional military strikes, arguing that past attempts at regime change have proven costly and ineffective. In Venezuela, officials report that both civilians and soldiers were killed during the operation, though no confirmed figures have been released. While military leaders have expressed support for the interim government and urged calm, uncertainty remains widespread. Residents in Caracas described quiet streets, fuel queues, and a sense of unease. Some have begun stockpiling food, unsure how the situation will evolve. Supporters of Maduro have gathered near the presidential palace, calling for his release, even as daily life continues cautiously elsewhere. Maduro is currently being held at a federal detention center in New York and is expected to appear in a Manhattan courtroom tomorrow. The indictment accuses him and close relatives of orchestrating a massive cocaine smuggling network to maintain power. He has denied all charges, accusing the U.S. of aggression and political manipulation. An emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council has been scheduled to address the legality and consequences of his capture. Critics say the operation violated international law, while U.S. allies are urging stability and a peaceful transition. Analysts warn the repercussions could extend far beyond Venezuela. The move is seen by some as further eroding the international rules-based system, signaling a world where power outweighs law. Others argue it sends a clear message to authoritarian leaders globally. As Venezuela enters an uncertain chapter, its future appears suspended between a government still exerting control at home and a superpower determined to reshape events from abroad. #0.5